Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hello, you're listening to the podcast. So there I was. This is episode number 190. It turns like a racquetball off a wall.
That's only when it doesn't smell like a hydraulic leak with an electrical fire.
Which was hard not to pick that too. In reference to a MiG-17 and a MiG-21, we had the pleasure.
The legend.
Yeah, the pleasure to listening to Captain
Heater
Healy.
Yeah.
And holy shit, once we got him going, the gold just kept flowing out.
Yeah. This is their right up there in the top, one of the top 5 shows. No doubt about it. There's nobody who's done more for naval and marine aviation than CJ Healy. And if you give us money and go to sotherewas.us/Patreon, you can find out how he got the call sign Heater. It's not because his name is Healy.
No, it's
Spoiler
good.
alert.
It's he left a couple call sign stories and then a story, and then an F-14 story at the very end. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Wow, 28-year naval career.
Yep.
Let's see.
And a 53-year marriage. $10, please. Almost another show title.
Yes, that's a great story. 28 years, retired as a captain. Had, let's see, I forgot how many. Well, he had, in just the F-14,
3,000 hours?
Over 2,400 hours.
F-14 was like 2,400 hours. 3,000 in the Phantom.
Over 2,400 hours and 1,124 traps. And, of course, he started off flying F-4s. F-4s and then the MiGs and F-5s and A-4s and, oh my gosh.
Tens of thousands of photographs.
Photographs. Just, well, the book, The Cutting Edge, the book Forged in Steel, all his photographs.
All his shots. Every last one of them. A true artiste, as it were, in aviation photography in general. And and
until you start talking to him, you don't realize that the movie Top Gun was generated from his photograph. The idea.
It was in a magazine article sitting in a dentist's office.
Yeah. And I didn't realize until I read an article on him. Actually, it was an interview, but then our interview with him, I didn't realize how intertwined he was with the movie and the production of it all.
No, neither did I. I mean, I knew he had a lot to do with it, but I didn't realize he was on set and, was involved with Tony Scott, the director, and was it Bruckheimer was the producer, and all those guys.
And then the actors. He had so many behind the scenes stories just on that subject alone. I mean,
exactly.
Holy cow. You guys are really going to dig this.
You're going to love this. And real quickly, so he opens the show with an event that happened, and we don't close the loop on that one until the end of next week's show. So you're stuck listening to all 3+ hours that we have with Heater to get the closure on this amazing So There I Was.
Yeah, and you're going to want to hear that.
It is.
It's good.
Epic. It's epic. I mean, shit like this happens in the movie. Wait, no. It happened in real life.
Yeah. It's better than a movie.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
It really is. Because if you wrote this shit down, people go, well, that would never happen. So
that would never happen.
Never happen.
Yeah, but it did. And we just talked to the guy that did it.
So I think we get out of the way and let him tell us how it happened.
What do you say? That. Oh, hell yes.
Yeah. Don't sit on that ejection seat handle.
Don't do it.
Here comes Heater.
This here is a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit on the tanker through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that, thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Well, there I was, crossing the pond pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond.
So there I was in an F-14 with Admiral Wild Bill Hickok, the admiral of the battle group, and we are over Somalia when the CIA comes up on the radio frequency and says, "Are there any fighters airborne with some extra fuel for a special mission?"
I know how that ends. And that's a great teaser.
Yeah, man. Holy smokes. Fantastic, everybody. Repeat here, coming to you from New Hampshire. This is So There I Was podcast. Subscribe to us at sothereiwas.us or anywhere where you get your podcast. I'm at home in New Hampshire tonight. Big, my co-host, where art thou?
Well, after 16 days in Costa Rica, I'm back in Kansas City, where it got to be 60 degrees today, which just totally blew my mind. But more importantly, we have with us a very special guest.
Legend.
Legend. Well, yeah, we can.
Aviation.
Well, I think you should introduce him.
Words cannot describe the legendary status of this man. Heater, C.J. Healy, the inspiration of Top Gun, author of 2 of the best aviation books ever printed on the planet. Ever. Cutting edge, forged in steel, naval aviation and marine aviation. Thank you, sir, for all you've done for naval aviation, and welcome, Heater, to So There I Was.
Welcome.
Wow. We're humbled. We're in...
yeah, and I can't wait to hear all these stories.
We're in rarefied air, right? Yeah. But you didn't start off taking pictures from an F-14. How is it that you got interested in aviation?
Well, my dad had some books, coffee table books, full of World War II, World War I, and Korea airplanes. So like you and a lot of other people listening, I fell in love with the Spitfire and the P-40 and the P-51 Mustang and all the classic airplanes of that era. And I just kept looking through those color pages thinking, man, one day I'm going to see if I can be a photographer and get in the back of one of those airplanes and take pictures myself, just like this. So it took quite a while before I thought, well, hell, maybe I'll be the pilot instead of the photographer. But the dream started real young, 5, 6 years old, maybe even 4.
Okay.
With my neighbor. And we used to sit on top of the hill in Palmerton, Pennsylvania, overlooking the entire town. And we'd sit right next to each other. We'd dig a little cockpit. We had our cardboard with tin can silver circles from the end of tin can. We'd tape those like dials on this cardboard that we'd put against a twig in the ground, and find a good stick and another one for the throttle. And we'd sit there overlooking the town of Palmerton and act like we were flying around.
Some of the best flying you ever did, I bet.
Oh my God. Yeah. From 4, 5, 6 years old. And never lost it. Wanted to do it, but I had a lot of trouble with roller coasters and going over a hill fast with a car. I'd get that feeling in your throat and my stomach would get real light. So I always doubted that I'd be a pilot. And the backup plan was to be a photographer so I could take pictures of the airplanes that excited me so much. And then one day at Dorney Park, also in Pennsylvania, right there in Allentown, they had one of the biggest U.S. roller coasters. It was famous, and I wouldn't go on it because the smaller one scared me. But I bought 4 tickets, and I went on, and I said, I need to do this because I need to dive bomb, and I need to pull G's, and I need to make turns, just like this roller coaster. So I pretended I was chasing Messerschmitts with P-51s and Spitfires. And I thought in my mind, if I just ask this car to go faster because I need it to kill these guys, then I won't be afraid. I'll be asking for it to go faster instead of slow down. And the first time it didn't work. I was scared shitless. I almost got out. But I gave the girl another ticket, stayed in it because I was in the front seat where I wanted to be.
Right on.
And I did the second one, and I went, well, that one very good, but it was better than the first one. And then the third time I did it, I was literally, flying. I was pulling G's, and I had that imaginary airplane out in front of me, and I was actually driving around the roller coaster, acting like a pilot, wanting to go faster, wanting to dive steeper. And when I came back, it was like, oh man, here's another ticket. I need to do that again. When I got out the fourth time, I knew I'd be a fighter pilot. And I think I was 9 years old. And so from that point on, I wasn't worried about taking pictures. I just wanted to be a pilot, just like everybody I saw in the books.
That is fantastic. And I don't think I've ever heard of anybody taking that approach to overcome their motion dis-ease or sickness or whatever you want to call it. That's actually kind of brilliant.
Yeah. Well, the urge to fly was overwhelming. And
I get that.
Then when I was about 12, my uncle shows up, and he's a pilot in the Air Force. So he rents a Cessna 172-like airplane and takes me out in it, and we fly over my home. So I got to see my home from above, which most kids never get to see. And I saw all the trees and the 7 acres of lawn I mowed every week. And from that point on, I would dream about flying because I had that aerial view in my head.
Yeah.
And so I dreamed I was a kite. I dreamed I'd be in an airplane. So all of my dreams had to do with aviation. And I was always airborne looking down. So my uncle's flight really, really turned a switch. And in a twist that I've never thought of till this moment, he visited me when I was flying MiGs in Nellis.
Oh. Okay.
So I was also in charge of the twin Cessnas that we took back and forth. And I had one in maintenance in Vegas, and I needed to get it back to Nellis. And I said, hey, Uncle Clay, just come with me. You can be in my right seat. I got to take the airplane back to Vegas anyway. So we took off out of Vegas and flew around a little bit for the test flight, and then landed it at Nellis Air Force Base. And I never thought about that. He started me in my career, and then I ended up being able to fly him in a twin Cessna.
That's badass.
Yeah,
it really is.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So that was the hook. So when he took you flying, you said you're like about 12?
12, yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Hooked.
Yeah.
Hooked.
Imprinted on me like you cannot believe.
Right. Oh, man. Little good stick time.
And nothing like the roller coaster, nothing like it was just all pure joy and excitement. So, and just phenomenal looking at everything, my school, the highways, all that stuff from the air for the first time. Pretty remarkable. And I hadn't flown in an airliner till I was 18.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was my one and only flight until I was 18 years old, and I flew back from college once. All the rest of the times I hitchhiked.
There you go. Okay, so you did. Speaking of college, so you went to Mizzou and did ROTC, as I recall, and then
journalist.
Yeah. I was struggling, didn't know what to do, and all these J school types were always busy and always intense. And everybody on campus would say, don't ever go to J school. Those guys work their ass off. And I took it the opposite way. I thought, wow, those guys are really motivated, and I want what they got. And so I switched majors, went to journalism school, and I couldn't type fast enough to get through reporting 101. So I had to take press photography 1. Ironically, I wasn't even interested in photography, even though at 4, 5, and 6, that was going to be my way into flying. But I took the photography course, and then when I took my first picture, got in the dark room, developed the film, put it in the overhead projector, and printed it on the paper, put that in the deck doll, and watched that image come up slow motion, and then put it in the fixer and took it out. I was hooked, just like when my uncle took me flying. I was so hooked, and I love photography, and I stuck with it from then till now.
Okay. What kind of camera was that? Do you remember?
Yeah, I couldn't afford one. It was a twin lens reflex. The schools. Not your typical 35. It was a 2 1/4 twin lens reflex.
Wow. Fantastic.
That's bad.
Yeah, and while the year that I switched into photography was my second year. So it was my sophomore year, which turned into another freshman year. I got in that FIP program that the ROTC had. First, they gave me a full scholarship after my first year as a contract. And they said, we'll give you the next 4 years for free and pay you $110 a month to boot.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that's something.
Yeah, but back then that was something.
That was real money in the 70s, 60s.
Yeah. I still wash dishes at the girls' college, and I still pump gas the whole time I was there. But the Navy had this flight program where you could go get your pilot's license. And so, man, I signed up for that right away and went out in a Cherokee 140.
Okay.
And I had a wild man, 23-year-old frustrated fighter pilot for an instructor who wrung that airplane out and showed me all the things that nobody else ever saw. I'll give you one little taste. I don't want to bore your audience. We can't show with hands. But when he went to the 180, instead of just turning 30 degrees and coming base and then final, he pulled it up into a stall, stomped on the opposite rudder, did 3/4 of a spin, ended up going straight down, and then he would pull out 90 degrees, and that would put you perpendicular to the runway really fast. And then you do a 90-degree turn really hard that would bleed off all the extra energy, level your wings, set it down in the end of the runway. Okay, and the beauty of that was in Columbia, Missouri, at the very end of the runway, at the threshold, it went down like 35, 40 degrees. So there was a steep slope. And that's where all the kids used to lay around and drink in the sunshine and picnic. And they'd watch airplanes come in and land over their head, but way up there on final. Yeah. And then when I came in and I pulled the nose up, stall it out, stomp on the rudder. It was a right base, so I left rudder and would go straight down, be below all these kids on the side of the hill, wrap it up 90 degrees, pull as hard as I could. Everybody's flying. I mean, food's flying, drinks flying, people are running because I'm right level with them. Roll my wings level, plop it down in the end of the runway.
No.
Never knew how crazy that was until I got into the training command and talked to other people about their private pilot's license experience. Yeah. But we would go out and do 2, 3, and 4G turns and see how close I could keep the needle on 0 on the altimeter. So he kind of felt like he knew I needed to be a fighter pilot. And so I got a little extra from that guy.
Yeah, you did. Holy shit.
Yeah, and then and you're still here to talk about it.
I lost feeling in my fingers when you just did describe that. I was like, holy shit.
You did what?
You stopped on the rudder at the 180?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay. That's saying something. I mean,
yeah. No, I'm speechless. So the training command was boring then, is what you're saying. So
Yeah.
But you had a private pilot's license when you went to flight school, or
When I
more
was
than
19, yeah.
Awesome.
When I was 19, it only takes about 14 or 15 hours. It's amazing. It's not that many hours to get your private pilot's license.
Yeah. And then, so obviously a big help when you got to the training command. But did you do Pensacola?
Yeah,
first.
Pensacola.
Okay, and then obviously jets. Where'd you go for advanced?
Yeah, after T-34s in Pensacola, I went to Beeville, where I flew the T-2 and then the A-4. And when I was at Beeville, I called up my Mizzou honey, and I said, "Why don't you come down here? Let's get married." And so she packed everything she owned in her car and drove down. And we were about to get married, but we won a football game in the big state inter-base football league. And I played at Mizzou. And so I was pretty good, and the team was pretty good. And we had to postpone the wedding until we got through with the playoffs and eventually won the championship. And then, not too romantically, went to a Mexican justice of the peace who did the ceremony and officially in Spanish. And at the end, he said, $10, please. And so for $10, we got married.
Wait, so it was a Mexican justice of the peace, but you went to Mexico. You went to Mexico, yes?
No, he was there in Beeville to handle
he's
all
in Beeville.
The immigrants. Okay. Yeah, Beeville, Texas.
$10, please.
Oh, yeah,
fantastic. That may be a show title.
And he called me Higley. Blah, 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 Higley. Blah, 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 $10, please. And his niece was the witness. He called her out the back. This room was as small as an outhouse. It was a little white shack with his shingle out in front. And we were going to do it at the county, but the county was closed. So we went a couple blocks away, and there was this Mexican justice of the peace, and it's official. And it worked. 53 years.
53 years later. So you think you're going to stick with it, is what you're saying.
So you're going to stick with her, I guess.
That's a keeper there that'll go to a Mexican justice of the peace for $10 after putting off the wedding for a football game.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. You know she's the keeper when she agreed to the
And we were both in jeans, and at that time we had our bell bottoms from college because that was big in the late 60s. And I didn't have the ring yet because we didn't have the right size, and I got the ring at the exchange, a gold band. So still have those.
Nice.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's like you read about. What a great story that is. All right. Well, I was going to ask any memorable stories from the training command, but that's one of the most memorable we've ever had, Fig.
Right.
I have a good one. I'd like I'll honor Captain Tut Fitzpatrick in your guys' honor because he's a Marine, and he was a Vietnam veteran, and he flew the F-4, and I was now in the ACM, Air Combat Maneuvering, part of the syllabus, the last thing before you go to the boat.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'd been doing real good, and so the instructors kept trading, and they kept trading up to get an instructor who could go 1v1 with me. And Tut had done a bunch of my FAM, and he was like King Kong in ACM because he was an F-4 pilot. Some of the other guys I flew with were surgrads, which
Yes.
Okay.
Students that graduated got plowed back in. So Tut takes me up, and we do 3 engagements, fights on, do the whole dogfight thing. And I do real good. And we come back, and I'm in the ready room waiting for him. And I'm thinking he's going to be happy, but he doesn't look happy. And so I'm thinking, oh, man, what did I do? I know I didn't break any rules of engagement. And I wasn't sarcastic when I called guns. and I'm trying to figure out what I did wrong. And he walks right past the little debrief room we have off the side of the ready room. And he goes back and into his office, and he comes out with this big yellow tactical manual. And he walks in the debriefing room and he goes, "Here, this is the F4 tactical manual." He says, "Read it. There's nothing else I can teach you." And I thought that was a really, really good moment.
Yeah.
And
Shit hot.
the other instructors sort of knew I wanted fighter planes, and I guess they knew that I was pretty good at dogfighting. And so the way that helped me is when I graduated and got my wings, they didn't give me orders. They didn't put me up for orders. And so the next week we're at the O Club and everybody's getting their tie cut and their wings on and thrown in the pool, and you get A7s and you get A6s. And again, I didn't get any orders. They held me there for, I think, roughly 2 months, maybe 9 weeks. And finally, a set of F4 orders came up to East Coast VF-74 because Vietnam was winding down. A lot of fighter pilots were coming back, and I guess they didn't need that many more fighter pilots. So because of my reputation there and because of the good heart of the instructors that kind of had empathy for me and said, "We need to get this guy a fighter slot," they held me back until one was available, and then I got it. So
that's really unheard of. I mean,
I know,
that's incredible.
Yeah, right.
I owe my whole career to them, and they didn't make me do a lot. I did a lot of errands and chores and tried to make myself useful as a dumb ensign that had nothing to do. But I did get on my motorcycle and I raced motocross a lot. And I got really good at that. And I learned
wide
some
open
things.
ground down there in South Central Texas too. So
Oh my God, there was one of the best tracks was in Beeville, and I raced in San Antonio and Corpus and Kingsville and all over Texas. Every Sunday, new motocross, and I raced with the biggies, Brad Lackey and all those guys. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was really cool to do that. And then later in life, a lot of the things I learned in motocross I applied to dogfighting.
Give me an example.
all right.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Well, in motocross, when you're heading into a turn, normally, you know what a berm is in motocross, right?
Yeah.
Big high bank turn. So you drive into the turn and everybody knows they have to brake and slow down. So what happens is if you can accelerate longer than everyone else, in other words, when they start taking off the throttle and they start getting on the brakes, you're still accelerating. All that means is you have to decelerate faster, but you beat everyone to the berm. And then you lay your bike down like 80 degrees so that all the G goes down through the seat and into the wheel. And you go full throttle to pick your nose, the front wheel, even though you're 80-degree angle of bank, and it pops you out of the berm, but you left everyone behind because while they were off the throttle or on the brake, you were accelerating, even if it was just enough to get a bike length or two in front of them.
Sure.
And then you mash your front brake, back brake, lay it on the side, full throttle, and go out of there. And so there's ways, I'm not sure your audience could understand that works in a dogfight, but they won't understand unless I bring out models and they're looking at the video. But let's just say that's very applicable. Maybe later when we're talking about the MiGs and Top Gun, maybe I'll work it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very intrigued by that. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And that's just one thing. That's just one thing. I mean, there's nothing like having 30 motocrossers on a giant jump and you're 15 feet in the air and you're going 50, 55 miles an hour, and your arms are out like this, beyond your shoulders on the grips. And you got this guy's handlebar right next to you in your ribs, and this guy's handlebars overlapping you here, just like in formation in fighter planes. And you look to your right, and there's 10 guys airborne. You look to your left, there's 15 guys airborne, and they're all looking for a place to land. I mean, it's just freaking awesome. I loved it.
So obviously you were not risk adverse because motocross. I can tell you from personal experience, it's easy to break things in your body. Motocrossing.
It really is. And I was an idiot. I didn't wear the shoulder pads. I didn't have the rock mask on my face, and you get rocks thrown at you 80 miles an hour from the wheel in front of you. Oh, sure. And I didn't do that for some reason. I guess I knew I was a part-time motocrosser, so I didn't want to go whole hog in all the gear. You definitely need the boots. You have to have the motocross boots, or you'll never make it. And I had good leathers pants, but I wore a t-shirt and a really dumb helmet, the same helmet I use on my street bike. So that's kind of dumb.
Well, all right. This is explaining a lot to me.
Right? Yeah. Later on, when I was a commanding officer and I'd look at JOs like that, I would tell them, "You have no apparent fear of death." And then I realized, oh yeah, that was me back then.
I know that guy.
Yep.
I've seen that guy, and he is me. Oh man, that's incredible.
You got F4s, yes, right out of, you got an F4 slot, VF, what'd you say, 74?
Yeah, VF 74, and the F4 was a beautiful bird, and
that would have been one of my dream airplanes to fly. When I was selecting, they were not putting anybody else in F4s. There was Marine Corps had one squadron left. That was a photo squadron, and no, the answer was no.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it. Like Hemingway said about your first fighter, that happened to me. And yeah, I love that airplane. And I was so proud to fly it. And it looked so mean, the way the wings came up and the tail went down. And it was just a beautiful airplane to me. And I felt like I belonged in it when I flew it. So
yeah,
it was a really good match. I got 2 cruises, over 300 traps, maybe 1,500 hours in it. So not bad for one tour.
No.
How was she to bring aboard compared to, obviously the Tomcat would be your other best comparison, but
she is right there.
Pretty heavy and stable, or?
Oh, that's it. Yeah. And that I even designed that tail. So
right. With you can see,
well, it was 76. So I did the kind of Harley Davidson, but American flag on the rudder. We were the bedevilers, so that's a silhouette of the devil. And then the AJ was something I fooled around with fonts, and so that's what it looked like in that year.
That's pretty damn cool.
Fantastic.
Bago's back there working the magic. He pulled that right out
there.
That
guy's amazing. Yeah. He can pull up.
When I went to Top Gun in the F4, I was the corrosion control officer. So I had them paint all the white. We had white rudders, white tail, white flight control surface, and the whole belly was white because we had a nuclear mission, and they thought that would help prevent radiation, and it would reflect it. But it made you a sitting duck in combat. So I painted the entire airplane with a dull gray, a flat gray, instead of the bright gray and the white. And so we were the first F4 to ever go through there painted like that.
Did that make a big difference?
It did, enough for me to work on what's now called the heater paint scheme. So I took that all gray airplane and then made it even better by making it 4 shades of gray. and then making it asymmetrical so that something on the airplane was always gone. So it fooled you as far as aspect deception,
Yeah.
fooled you with range, because the smaller you make something, the further away it looks. So it worked really well. I mean, really well. They made it a war reserve mode. It won the best camouflage and red flag. And a general did a test with me. I was in a T-38 that we put in the heater paint scheme, and we were doing the butterfly drill, which is nothing more than you get a mile apart, turn in, and the bogey doesn't move. You're just a banner for him to shoot at.
Yeah.
And then you see how many frames you can get on the fuselage. And if you get 24 on the fuselage, it's a kill. 24 all over the airplane is a kill. 12 on the fuselage is also a kill. Yeah, there you go. That's one of the Marine airplanes that is in the heater paint scheme. So the general does it. And the first time I turned away and he got fooled by the canopy on the bottom, and he reversed and lost me underneath his belly, and I turned back in and was able to shoot him, and he was supposed to just be gunning me. And so we started it up again, and long story short, he did about 8 or 9 runs, never got his pipper on once. We landed. He said, "Put that thing in the hangar. I'm classifying it." And I didn't have the nerve to tell him that there was 2 reserve squadrons with 24 airplanes at Miramar, all painted up, because VF 301 and 302 wanted it. And I already had an A4 and an F5 painted up at Top Gun like it. And so I did the T-38 while I was a Red Eagle up there in Tonopah. And the general wasn't aware of all the other stuff. So it took me a while to let him down.
Sorry to tell you, cat's already out of that.
Did you give him the, "Oh, yes, sir, no problem, sir," and then later go, "Yeah, actually, it's too late"?
Yeah, that's kind of what I did. Yep.
Hey, can you tell maybe we're going to go there? Red Eagle, Tonopah. Yeah, can you talk about that later when we get to your?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, because it was classified for 26 years, and then it was declassified. And one of the first things I had to do when it got declassified, the Navy called me up. I'm a civilian, and they said, "We're going to give you an admiral, and you're going to fly to San Diego, and you're going to tell Linda Brown what really happened to her husband." And I said it would be my honor. He was my squadron mate, and he went down in a MiG right next to the airfield. And I was the one that had to go there and photograph all the evidence of the crash site, and then put as much as I could get of Hugh in a rubber bag.
Jeez.
Put that in a helo, and we flew down and picked up the chaplain and went to Linda's house. And then we had to tell her. And yeah, that was
there's no worse job than
not
that.
A good day. Yeah, no worse job than that.
So the Red Eagles, you guys were flying the MiGs for Red Air in exercises, or you were just flying them?
Was it Top Gun or Air Force? Or you taught it both, right? Both Top Gun and Air Force weapons.
Right. So in '78, I was the designated MiG pilot for Top Gun for the class. So each class would go up to Nellis, and then I'd fly the 21 and the 17 against everybody, all day, several days until everybody got exposed. And me and a couple other guys. And VX4 had a couple guys.
Yeah. Which MiG heater? Which MiG was it?
I did the fish bed and fresco, the 17 and the 21.
Okay.
And so that was a whole separate thing and a whole different squadron. That was Area 51. That was in the box.
Okay.
Where nobody could fly.
Yeah.
And then they decided, and Gail Peck, who recently died, he's the fourth skipper that died. He died of cancer. We had 514 Red Eagles, 346 are dead, and most of the rest that are living have cancer like me. And so the ranges up there had 1,000 nuclear tests.
Oh my gosh.
100 of them were above ground. Several of them were tests of dirty bombs. They got Mustangs running around up there that had deformed and all kind of mutations. And the tritium and uranium and other radioactive material is all over the dust and the tumbleweeds and the cactus and the dirt up there.
You can't get away from it.
So it's a big scandal. And so almost everybody up there got some kind of really weird, strange disease. And when you think about it, 346 dead out of 514, and almost all the rest of us have cancer. And some of the guys, their kids got cancer. Their kids were born with brain tumors and other things. So
that's
horrible.
That's a staggering percentage.
That is, that's way off the charts.
What's horrible is DOE acknowledged it, but DOD decided that every week they delay this, more people die, and that's less people they have to pay off.
Sure.
And so they keep kicking the can down the road. And it got in a bill this year, and they were going to add it to the Agent Orange stuff. And even though it got passed, they pulled the appropriations out for it, so they can't do it. So they said they're going to relook at it in 2027. And it's just a shame because people are dying every week.
67%. 67%.
Yeah, exactly.
Have already died.
Yeah. That's
not
your average population density.
And that's a very unique group. You talk about a small group. Wow, that's
exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah, the stealth guys. I don't know if you've done a show with the 117 guys, but they were up there right next to us after the first couple of years. They built a bunch of hangars and much more modern facilities. Hell, when I started, we were in a Jeep with a handheld radio for the tower, and one of the pilots that wasn't flying was the tower operator. And
wow,
and ATC school for you.
Yeah, and we had no cafeteria like they had. I had a microwave, and I would take 2 eggs, put it in a styrofoam cup, swirl it up with a fork, hit it for a couple 30 seconds, and then stir it again. And then wolf that down and run out and jump in a MiG and get my 5 hops that day.
Wow.
And that's how we did it on a shoestring. Right. And the 117s came in there and they had some bucks. They did some good stuff. But from what I understand, the stealth pilots have a much higher rate of cancer, the ones that were up there where we were. Yeah, Area 51 and 52 are full of plutonium.
I was a new hire with a guy at my airline who was a 117 pilot. I need to reach out to him. I haven't. Now, that being said, I haven't seen him in a decade. I don't know his status. But
yeah, I got one too that I flew with a lot when I was.
Yeah, ask them about their buddies.
Okay. What about the 17 and the 21? Which one did you like better, or how did you like flying the MiGs? It seems to me like there's where I keep my little airplane. There's a yak. I look in that thing and I'm going, oh, it's cool looking, but I don't want to fly it.
Good grief. Yeah. One of my squadron mates in the Red Eagles was Marshall McLeod, who later became a general, who was on track to be chief of staff at the Air Force. He was flying a yak in air shows, and he borrowed one that was a little different, and the inverted spin controls were the opposite of the one he owned.
Oh no!
And he took his friend up in Alaska, where he had a wing up there, and did an intentional spin, as he loved to do, and he put the anti-spin controls to get out of it, and it wrapped up tighter, and he crashed, killed them both.
Wow.
And so when you said yak, that's the first time I thought of Marshall in a long time. He was my best friend up there, and he was the cookie monster to my kid because he lived near us in Vegas. my wife made chocolate chip cookies all the time, and he would come over and eat them and play the cookie monster for my little kids.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. But the question was, which airplane? They both smelled like a hydraulic leak with an electrical fire. Because,
that's a perfect description.
Yeah, you get in that old airplane and you just take one breath and you smell hydraulic fluid and burnt electrical lines. And it was because most of them were wrecks. They got them out of deserts and swamps and wherever they were shot down. And we got a couple off of the pedestal out in front of the base overseas. So they were everywhere from Egypt to the Golan Heights to the Singapore, Philippines, Southeast Asia region, we'll say. And we brought back parts and pieces and some whole airplanes, and those guys were magical. I mean, the crew, the Air Force guys that we had were unbelievable. And they put these airplanes together and we flew them.
Wow.
And so we clearly trusted them with our lives.
Yeah.
And,
Sure.
and they worked. They worked. And the crash was pilot error. So later on, there was a crash of a MiG-23 that was aircraft problem that killed Toasty. But otherwise, we flew the hell out of those things all day long, day after day after day, and they just worked. And those engines were designed to be thrown away at 200 hours.
No
and
shit.
We just kept going, and yeah, I loved it because I would.
So,
back
do they have the Russian engines, or did they re-engine them with any of ours?
Oh no! They were all.
How did they keep it going?
Yeah, I know.
That's truly amazing, right there.
It is amazing. It is amazing, and you taxi in like with a 17, and then I know my next stop's in a 21, and I see them getting it ready next door, and they're like, "We got to fuel it up, sir." And I said, okay, I'll get that. And I'd run out, jump on top of the turtleback, stick the fuel in there, and gas it up myself, do whatever it takes, fill it with oil. So it was a group effort a lot of times, but usually the crew chiefs had it all squared away, ready for you to go.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
And because they were old, you would think that airplanes that were built 40 years later would kick their ass.
Right.
But the MiG-17 turned like a racquetball off a wall. So it was amazing. And
okay.
Yeah, there it is. And that thing was small. When you pointed at somebody, it was like an invisibility switch. All you had is that little hole staring at you. And the afterburner looked like a trash can fire. It wasn't like a Tomcat or any other afterburner you saw. It was just this candle flickering out the back where they just dumped raw fuel into the back of the engine. That was their afterburner. And you could hardly feel it. I mean, in an F-14 or any other airplane, it gives you a good kick in the ass, and you know you're in afterburner, and you can actually feel all the zones as you go up. In the MiG-17, you could barely feel it. And the
so
20
pissing fuel overboard, and it happened to catch on fire before it left.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Oh man!
And then the other thing is, it didn't have hydraulic controls. It had boosted ailerons, so it had a little bit of help there, but a manual rudder and a manual elevator, if you can believe that.
Oh,
so
shit.
when we're going above 400 knots, it was pure biceps power.
Oh my gosh!
In other words,
thinking, yeah, it's like lifting weights just to move that airplane.
Absolutely. You felt like you were bending the stick, like you were going to pull the top off the stick. And that would only get you 4 or 5 Gs. But all you had to do is slow down a little bit. You slow down to 375, and now you're at 6.5 Gs. 350, you got 7.5 Gs. And man, when you do 7.5 Gs at 350, you are making some angles. And boy, that intimidated all the American fighters. You could get your nose on them real fast.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah,
How hard was it to learn Russian tactics to fly against these guys? Was it, or what? I guess not how hard. How long was that process? Is it better?
The test pilots at the 6513th Test Squadron, which was in Area 51, they're a different breed. And test pilots, one of the things they do to graduate from class is you go out in an airplane you've never flown before, never read about, don't know anything about, and you go out and fly it, and you have to come back with everything. You have to come back with V1, V2, stall speeds, top speed, Gs at what airspeed, all that stuff. You write it down on your knee board, and that's what makes a good test pilot. They can ring out an airplane and tell you what it can and cannot do. And so there's no syllabus. It's like, there's the airplane, go get in it, and we'll help you get it started. And then you taxi it out and take off. And so
look it up.
Yeah. And so everyone would come out, because the hardest thing about the MiGs was taxiing, because they had a hand brake, and then you diverted the air from the brake on the lever with your hand with the rudders. So if you wanted to turn left, you put the brake on and then put the left rudder, and then that would put the left brake on. But it was delayed. If you've ever driven a boat, a 14, 18 footer, you know how you have to put the control in and then take it out, because the boat's going to do its thing. And if you don't take it out soon enough, it goes way beyond. And same way with the MiGs. So people came out because pilots in the past, after the startup, in their spot, would actually start turning, and then it would go too far, so they'd put both brakes on and stop it. Then they'd have to put a whole lot of power on, and then they'd put the other brake on to get it back where it was, and that would overcorrect. And after 3 or 4 of those, they'd be pointed at the hangar doors, stuck, and they'd have to shut down and start all over again, turn it around, and get out of there. So lucky for me, I was up there for one of those. And while everybody's on the ground laughing at the pilot because he can't even taxi a MiG out, I'm thinking, that could be me tomorrow. So I realized what was going on, and I realized, okay, I'm going to just do I'm going to tap the brake and see what happens with the nose, and I'm going to go back to neutral. And then I'll just keep making little corrections till I get what I want. And so I was able to do that, and I didn't have to shut down and start all over again. I was able to taxi out, take off, and go on the flight.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. And what's really cool is when you're done with the 17, then you do the 21.
Which was more difficult, or which did you like better of the two? The 21 looks like it's a little faster.
The 21, I did Mach 2 in.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right.
It looks like it takes about 2 acres to turn. I mean, is it true, or does it turn pretty good?
No, Delta wings are famous for their instantaneous turn.
Okay.
So whether you're a 106 or a MiG-21, a Delta wing, it bleeds, but man, you can put some rate on. So you can go from 450 to 250 in just a few seconds, and that turns all that airspeed into angles because you're really hauling around the corner. So it is almost like an F5. It really does everything like an F5. Okay. And it's the same size, same kind of turn rate, a little better sustained G, but probably a better slow fighter. So if you're way below 150 and you're in a knife fight in a phone booth, the MiG-21 will beat the F5. But everywhere else, I think the F5E has an advantage, just a slight advantage. But terrific simulator for the MiG-21. So all the years of Top Gun that everybody flew against us in the F5, if they could handle that, they can handle a MiG-21.
Okay. Nice. All right. Well, Fig, I got bad news, man. We've been doing this almost an hour now.
Okay.
I know, right?
I haven't gotten to the best parts yet.
No.
I'm waiting to hear this is.
Yeah, no, we got plenty more good stuff to do. But for just a moment, I'd like to take a moment and talk about our sponsor. Because every once in a while, something crosses my desk that makes me pause and say, okay, this isn't just another gadget. This is one of those moments. The Anti-Gravity A1 officially launched on December 4th, and it's not just a new drone. It's an entirely new way to experience flight. It's the world's first 8K 360 drone, and it's sold as a complete system. The drone itself, the vision goggles, and the grip controller. Everything you need right out of the box. Here's what makes it different. Most drones feel like you're flying a camera from the outside. The A1 flips that around. You put on the vision goggles and suddenly you're inside the flight. You can turn your head and look anywhere, explore freely, cliffs, coastlines, tree lines, all in smooth, real-time, immersive 360. It feels natural, intuitive, almost instinctive. And speaking of instinct, the free motion control mode is where this thing really shines. No sticks, no memorized control inputs. You point the grip controller where you want it to go, pull the trigger, and the drone follows your intent. That's it. It's accessible in seconds, which makes it perfect, not just for experienced pilots, but for anyone. Friends, family, first-timers, people who have always wanted to fly, but didn't want the learning curve. And because the A1 weighs less than 249 grams, this is designed for recreational flying without the licensing headache. You're not buying complexity, you're buying freedom. And for you creators, this is where the A1 becomes something special. It captures 8K 360 video, which means you fly once and decide everything later. Missed an angle? Doesn't matter. Want a cinematic orbit or a straight-ahead push? A top-down reveal or something wild and dynamic? It's already there. One flight can turn into endless edits, and thanks to invisible drone stitching, the aircraft itself completely disappears from the final shot. There's also SkyPath, which is a feature that lets you design a flight route and let the drone fly it autonomously. Hand the goggles to someone else and watch their reaction as they experience flight from the inside. It turns flying into something shared, and that's rare. So here's my take as someone who lives in aviation and in storytelling. I don't get excited by much, but if you're looking for a standout Christmas gift, something memorable, immersive, and genuinely different, this would be my first choice. Not just a drone, but an experience. The Anti-Gravity A1 is the world's first 8K 360 drone. It's genuinely a game changer. Full immersive flight with the goggles, insanely intuitive controls, and endless creative freedom in editing. If you're thinking about buying a drone, make it this one. Check out the link. So thereiwas.us/anti-gravity to take you to the site where you can get your hands on one of these. Again, so thereiwas.us/anti-gravity. One word. And thanks to Anti-Gravity for sponsoring this episode. Indeed. Thank you very much. Wow. I am having so much fun. Thank you.
Hey, I got a tie-in for you.
Oh, good.
Okay.
So while I'm at Area 51, all the people are talking about the anti-grav vehicles. And they didn't say anti-gravity. They always said the anti-grav vehicles.
Okay.
There was Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and Baby Bear. 3 different sizes inside a hangar, tethered to the ground because the anti-gravity apparently was still working. 3 alien vehicles. So every chance I could, and Area 51 is a very compartmentalized place. In fact, there were times where the MiG pilots they said, we need you to go in that room and put a helmet bag over your head. And no matter what you hear or you think you see, you don't see anything but the inside of your helmet bag. And then they would say, the vice president's not even briefed in on this. And then you'd hear all this commotion and stuff, and you'd wonder, well, I wonder what that is. So I would look around every chance I could in that environment to try to find the anti-grav vehicles. And I would slip in all kinds of places I didn't belong and never did find them. Otherwise, you'd already see a book and a movie. But I never found them. So I don't believe they were there because I looked in all the spots they could be, and I didn't find them. But everyone who would fly into Groom Lake and everyone that flew out of Area 51 heard about that, talked about that, but I tried to confirm it and I couldn't.
Well, damn it.
Right?
Well, that just leaves more questions now.
Right.
I know, but it's interesting that the drone is called anti-grav.
Anti-gravity, yeah. It's
Weird.
a new one. It's a pretty cool setup they've got. So, all right. Well, man, we got so much good stuff to keep going over here from ACM, and I just think I still am in awe that they held on to you to make sure you got a fighter slot. That is such a rare thing. It's 99.9% of the time the needs of the Navy, needs of the Marine Corps. And what you want doesn't matter. So it's always wonderful to hear somebody getting a good deal.
So
go ahead.
You sent me something right before I went to Costa Rica, and I read it, and so I may not have this right in my head. But Heater, you did you did a tour in F4s, and then did you go to Top Gun? Did you go to the Top Gun the course in the F4, or were you an instructor first?
Both. So first I went as a student, and that was lucky, and it goes right into what Repeat was just saying. So I had those guys in the training command that got me the fighter slot. And now here's a quick little story about how the Rios in VF-74 got me to Top Gun. Because the skipper, who was really old school, thought he would fly against all the JOs, the junior officers in the squadron, and then he would pick who was going to get the Top Gun slot. So he flew against all of us, and some of the guys, got shot all 3 times. Some of the guys were like 50-50. With me, he tried something tricky, and I got him real quick. And so the next one, we turned and burned, and I got him again. I'm feeling real good. And so he says, one more, and fights on. And we just turned and pulled our guts out. We went 2-circle. And I pulled and pulled, and I thought I had him right where I wanted him. And maybe a little bit of tunnel vision from the G, but I lost him. And I had really good eyes, so losing somebody was really bad for anybody, but it was particularly bad for me. And I thought, shit, there goes Top Gun. I can't believe it. I did everything right. So in a split second, I'm starting to try to piece my essay back together and go, okay, he was here, he was this airspeed, he was this G, I was doing this. And I lower my head a little bit in the F4, and above the canopy rail, or behind the canopy rail where I couldn't see him, there's 2 tailpipes in front of me about a mile. And I go, box 2 on the F4 heading 270. And the fight was over, and I'm 3 for 3, feeling really good. All right, nobody did that good. I got my Top Gun slot. So we get back and get to an AOM, all officers meeting, and the skipper announces that he's going to put this other guy that he beat 3 times to Top Gun. And the Rios go with them. I think I talked about this in Jello's podcast, if this sounds familiar. The Rios say, hey, Skipper, you're not supposed to send the worst guy. You're supposed to send the best of the best to Top Gun because he's going to go learn all that stuff and then he's going to come back and teach it. And he goes, yeah, but Hank cut that out.
Yeah.
This guy needs the training. And they said, well, that's not what it's for, Skipper. And so that's how it was left. And the next day he tells me, Hader, you're going to Top Gun, kind of like in the movie. And so I went to Top Gun as a student. And I mean, it was everything I thought it would be and 100 times more. It was unbelievable. And I got to meet all the legends because that was in like 70, 75.
Okay.
A lot of the original people were still there or had come back, and all the legends were there. And I got to fly against all of them, and it was awesome. So I come back from that, and you may or may not know there's no Top Gun trophy, but what they do is they sit down after the class is over, and I had to do this with all of my classes, and you go over who do you want back as a Top Gun instructor, because you just don't want the best dogfighter or the guy who flies his airplane to the max. You want somebody that's credible, of course, but if they're not humble and they're not approachable, they can't be a good Top Gun instructor.
Yeah.
And so we're always looking for those three things, believe it or not. And I get a message and from one of the guys there after they had their meeting, and they said, Heater, keep it under your hat, but you're coming to Top Gun. And then about a year later, when my orders came, I was a Top Gun instructor. So I went to San Diego, and man, that changed my life.
So well, before we go very much further, one of our listeners who's listening right now wants to know if the beach volleyball is all of this cracked up to be, in the movie.
I was there. There was no court there. They brought in sand. They put in the court. They put in the volleyball. He became my really good friend, Tony Scott, the director.
Yeah, wanted
a bunch of sweaty, bearskin men doing physical activity for the movie.
Okay,
and the guys couldn't really do volleyball that well, so they hired a bunch of lookalikes from San Diego State, and they dyed their hair, they cut their hair, they did makeup, they did everything they could. And I'm telling you, because I was there, you had to look really close. And I already knew Tom and Val Kilmer really well, and Slider and all the guys, Rick Rosovich. And I mean, it took me to do a double take to see who was who. And so the way Tony cut it, he could use close-ups of the real actors, and it really sold it. But some of the spikes and some of the other shots and the serve, that's from the University of San Diego.
Oh, that's
San
great.
Diego State University volleyball team.
Shit.
So
that's outstanding.
That answers your question.
Yes, yes, it did. Thank you.
Yeah, so fantastic. So was Dan Peterson still around in those days?
Good friend of mine. And yeah, he was there. He actually ended up being skipper of Ranger when I was on the boat as a department head. And really, really good man and father of Top Gun. So just a wonderful guy. Wrote a great book. Yeah, he's Yank. He's awesome.
There it is.
That's it. That's it.
Holding it in my hand. Yeah. So, all right. I'm going to ask the question hoping against hope, but is he still with us?
He's still with us, and I would love to show you the inscription he wrote in my copy of that book.
Oh, fantastic.
that would feed the fighter pilots have big egos, so I won't do that.
Well,
Oh,
there you
come
go.
on.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Top Gun, An American Story by Dan Peterson, P-E-D as in Delta, E-R-S-E-N. Dan Peterson, the father of Top Gun. So, shit hot.
Hey, we
Wow.
kind of already
He's got to be
a
in
little
his 90s now, huh?
Yeah, he's getting up there, but he still comes to the Top Gun reunions, and I've seen the last couple of years at a couple different functions.
Wow.
Fabulous guy.
That's fantastic. So,
It was only like 3 years ago he flew with the Blues and pulled 7 Gs. He was really
that just pisses me off.
I know. He was
You know
really proud of that.
I feel like if I did that right now, I couldn't walk for a week.
Right?
You know?
Oh, yeah. It would break your back. I mean, I can't
Mine
believe
hurts
he's
every
able
day.
to.
No kidding. Oh, God bless him. That is so cool. That is fantastic news. to
Big,
hear.
mine is all titanium.
Oh,
From my tailbone to my solar plexus, it's all fused. It's all titanium, giant 10-inch rods up the side.
oh my gosh.
And my neck, at least 5 of them are fused in my neck.
Yeah.
Oh, so they go through your throat to do that too. I see you pointing at the front,
Yeah.
but when they fuse your vertebrae, they go through your throat.
Twice. So I have one scar on top of another, 20 years apart.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. After the first fusion, the fused vertebra puts so much pressure on the ones above and below because it's 3 now instead of 1.
Yeah.
That it makes those go bad. And then those have to be fused. And they said, yep, just like clockwork, 20 years, you're due.
Son of a
And
bitch.
he fixed me up really good. Works great. Yeah.
Very cool. All right.
Well, I hope I don't
Well,
go there.
Yeah. So when did you
I
wind
don't
up going
think you
to the 14th?
Yeah, I don't think you will, Fig, because it turns out that amyloidosis causes stenosis of the spine, and it causes ligaments to rupture. So we didn't know it, but the stenosis in my spine is why I had all those surgeries. And then to really confirm that it was the amyloidosis that pops ligaments, I had 7 surgeries in both shoulders, 4 in the pitching shoulder, 3 in this one. I had both biceps pop off
Oh
and
my
had to
gosh.
be sewn back on, and both hamstrings ruptured. So my new doctor that figured this out 2 years ago said, yeah, those are all precursor symptoms for amyloidosis.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay.
I felt better that all the fun I had flying and all the G's I pulled, which was tons of G's over all those years, probably didn't cause my back problem. It was the amyloidosis.
Okay.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Were you going to ask him a question? Because I got.
Well, I was good. Yeah. So my question was basically at what point did you wind up going to the Tomcat?
So after I had about 3,000 hours in F4s and MiGs and all the Top Gun, 2 years of Top Gun flying 2-3 times every day, all the time, except on debts. Then you flew like 5 times a day. So I had flown against the the Tomcat a whole bunch, but I never flew in it. And so when I got orders to go to VF1 as a department head, I had to go through the RAG.
Mm-hmm.
And they put me on a very shortened syllabus because, man, I thought I was like a hand in a glove with the F4. It was unbelievable with the F-14. There was just something about the Tomcat that I felt like I'd been that airplane for 5,000 hours the first time I got in it. And it just did everything I wanted to do and never surprised me. And everything I asked it to do, it did. And,
so you're in alphas or deltas first?
Oh, I was only alphas. I would have given
Okay.
my left nut to fly the big engines. I shouldn't say big engines because they were actually lighter and more efficient than the original A engines. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
They were lighter, more efficient, and they had more power in mill than the A in Zone 5 afterburner.
Okay, that's crazy.
why the D's never even used afterburner on takeoffs, because for one thing, they'd melt the JBDs. And another thing,
Well, there's that.
yeah,
right?
they had more thrust than they needed. So they flew in mill. I would have killed to fly that airplane. I mean, that, because all the A was missing was thrust. And man. And then all the other good stuff they put in the D, with the lantern pod and the big screen in the back and the new radar. Oh my God. That's the best bomber in the world.
Yeah. Could you briefly talk about the zones of afterburner? I don't think we've ever talked about that on this show.
No. Yeah, that'd be good.
That takes 5 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's.
Is it notched on the throttles? Is it notched?
You can sort of feel a little bit. It's not a big notch, but if you're real sensitive, you can feel with each, let's say, 1 inch forward, maybe 3/4 of an inch. That's zone 1, and then another 3/4, zone 2, another 3/4. There's no notch. There's no labels.
Okay.
All the way forward is zone 5. All the way back is zone 1. And then it comes to a detent, and you're back to mill power. Okay. So it's not a big deal. It's not like use zone 4 for this, use zone 1 for that. It's like I said with motocross, Fig. You're either at full power or idle.
Right. Yeah.
Because you either need more airspeed or G,
right,
or you need to bleed airspeed and turn it into angles. And if you're too fast and you're turning, you better be at idle. Yeah. So just like motocross.
Nothing in between.
Did you take a lot of pictures from the F4 when you were flying it? I know you took a lot of pictures from the F-14.
Or when did you start taking pictures?
Yeah, when did you start?
This is a very, very sad story. I started taking pictures in the training command, and they liked them so much, they actually took me out to the boat when I was in FAM. So I actually got a trap and a cat and got to go all over the boat because they wanted me to document the T2's carqualing. So
no way.
Somebody there figured out that I was a photographer and just had me do it, and I gave them all the film. So the really sad, unfortunate part is when you're in the Med, a lot of times you're out for 100 days, and then you go back and you go to Naples. And they had this big bureau in the middle of the exchange, and it had open wooden drawers, and it had all the slides from Kodak stuck in there. And you had to find your name and then get all the slides. So I went in after shooting probably 75 rolls of film, just short of 100 rolls of film. So times 36 a roll.
Okay, sure.
I put all those in there and for development, and came back when the cruise was over. And we had another, I guess we're out there another 6 weeks or so. Came back, couldn't wait to pick up my slides. I'm looking in the H, nothing there. Somebody figured out that I could take pictures, and they stole every one of my slides.
Oh my God!
And I had them. We tried to track them down, and they said, no, we know that they ended up in here, but it was just wide open. I mean, just like an open drawer.
Oh, that is so heartbreaking to hear.
Oh, I had the most amazing stuff, just awesome stuff.
My similar story was A4 carrier quals. I actually wound up, a guy took a shot of me and sparks coming off my tail hook and smoke coming off my mains. And I sent that negative off to have it made into a poster, and haven't seen it since.
Somebody's got it.
Yeah, but I didn't lose thousands of pictures. Oh, holy shit.
Yeah. Well, here's a bookend tragedy of slides. So of course I did the 3 lectures for the MiGs, right? So Kodak Carousel has 140 slides. So I got 140 slides of the MiG 17, 21, 23. And I mean, these are for briefings. So I got diamonds, F-15 in the lead, F-15 in the slot, MiG 17 on one side, MiG 21 on the other, and then everything you can think of. F-14s, MiG 23s, you name it, all in diamond formations or parade formation. And of course, it's a photo mission. So I controlled the light and the shadows and the background in the desert. Gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. Luckily, we gave the lectures for many years until the slides were put in the Pentagon. On 9/11, that airplane that hit the side of the Pentagon hit the vault where all those slides were stored.
Of course it did.
Everyone burnt up, gone.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they called me up and they said, please tell me you made copies, Heater, please. We'll waive any security violations. Don't worry about any kind of prosecution. Just anything you got, we'll take. And I said, sorry, man. I was classified that way.
I played by your rules. Yeah.
Yeah, I played by your rules. That was it. Those were it. They're gone.
All right. Well, you just triggered a thought or a question for me when you said you controlled, the background and the lighting and everything because these were a photo shoot. So did you get involved in that sort of thing with the filming of the movie? With times a day, the lighting and that sort of thing for the aerial cinematography?
No, did you know I shot with a camera, an Aeroflex? Did you know that?
I did not.
Oh, okay. So, the movie started on the famous F-14 photo over my shoulder, right? Or maybe
yes.
You don't know.
Yes. Yes. I read that.
That
Bago, you're killing me, man. Bago has the cover of Cutting Edge up right now.
Yeah. So that picture right there, the producers were in a dentist's office because one of them had a toothache. And Jerry Bruckheimer is looking through California Magazine. He comes to a double spread of that photo. And he particularly liked the reflection in the visor, but he loved the airplanes, the sky, all that. And he said, this looks like Star Wars on Earth. This is our next movie. And he plopped the magazine on his buddy's lap. And that's how they started the movie Top Gun. They did a treatment from that photo and went to SecNav and asked if they could get the Navy's cooperation on the movie. And Lehman, him, he green lighted it. So they knew I shot, and Tony had already been to my house a couple times. He already selected like a couple dozen photos to put all over the Top Gun offices and on the carrier. So almost every photo you see in the movie that's on the wall, that's my photo. So he asked to use me since he knew I was a photographer, even though I wasn't a cinematographer. He said, we're going to get Heater to go up and shoot some dogfights and the missile shoot and stuff like that. And because his guys were getting sick anyway. And they didn't have a secret clearance, top secret clearance for the missile shoot. And they needed to be that and also be a safety observer, of which I was both. So Tony says, I'm going to get Heater to do this. And the Navy killed it. And he said, why? And the Navy said, we'll get sued by the cinematographer union. We don't need that. Somebody's going to be pissed that the Navy shot it for free. And Tony came up with a solution. He hired a guy who's a friend of mine to this day. He was a big cinematographer in Hollywood. And I won't say his name because he doesn't even put his name on Facebook, but I'll just call him Glenn. Great guy, met his wife and him, and he used to send me Christmas cards every year because he made all of my money. Every time I flew, they paid him. And that way the union couldn't sue Tony or Paramount.
Yeah.
So he helped me learn how to do the Aeroflex. And then I would go up there and shoot like almost all the overwater scenes. So the landing at night, and you had to do that from 3 different points of view. So I had to be the guy landing, then I had to be Tom Cruise, Maverick helping him. Then I had to be third point of view showing Tom being the wingman for the guy trying to land. Yeah. So we did that a bunch. When the engine flamed out in another scene and some of the dogfight scenes, and then every single missile shoot, of course, I shot. Now, what's interesting is the first time I went up, the film broke. We barely got started shooting and the film broke. And this is a giant Aeroflex. If you ever remember doing your reel-to-reel films that you showed in the ready room decades ago, so it wove through all those sprockets just like that. Oh, so I'm like, what am I going to do now? I don't know what to do. So I opened up where the sprockets were. I see the films ripped in half. So I take a little thumbnail and get it under my reflective tape on my helmet, and I get enough off to splice the film together. And I spliced the film together, closed it, and pulled the trigger, and sure enough, I'm shooting again, and I shot at least 8 more missile shoots. And I flew a bunch. I flew with maybe 3 different F-14 pilots, at least 8 or 9 different sorties, and a couple in the A4. And I flew with that big, heavy Aeroflex. And when Bozo did the aileron roll over the carrier, I was in his back seat. We were doing other stuff besides that. So I got to shoot all of that and grade everybody on the missile shoot and be the safety observer.
That's pretty damn cool.
Busy man that day. It's funny. You just don't even think of that shit anymore because of digital photography. And that was the original high def photography. Yeah, you had celluloid how much did that thing weigh? Because then I'm going to ask you how much it weighed at 6 Gs.
It was big and it was heavy, and you'd have to Google it. I don't know. But hell, when you're in a cockpit, even 10 pounds is a lot to hold in your hand.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
To try to be steady. So it was interesting. But I had to do my job too. And the 130 pilot that was launching drones for the missile shoot for the guys to shoot down, he decided after the first 7 that he knew this was the last shoot, that he would come in and take a look at the drone blowing up. So we're driving in, and remember, I'm in an F-14 in the back seat. So I'm on the radar doing my safety observer and complex observer stuff. So I'm grading them and safety, and I got the camera, but I don't need to worry about the camera till they're ready to shoot. And they can't shoot until I tell them the range is green, right?
Right.
So they got a lock, and I'm looking at my radar, and I look out at him at my right 3 o'clock, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's 4 miles further out than the drone. And so I start screwing around with the radar, and I call up the 130, and I ask him, I said, what's your heading? And he tells me he's coming right at us, and it's 180 out of what it should be. And I said, execute a 180 turn immediately. And so I could see he put it in the turn, and luckily that was still beyond the range that the guy was going to shoot. So I had to wait till he turned around and got out of the envelope. And then, of course, when he's going the other way and the drone's coming at us at 450 knots, there's a lot of separation. And it finally got to where I could call a green range. But had I not seen that, that would have been a real horrible mess.
Bad luck to shoot down.
Oh my
down
God!
C-130. Holy shit!
Guess what? They would have said, "That's because he had a camera. Damn it!"
Exactly.
They'd have court-martialed me. I'd have went to Fort Leavenworth. I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Well, speaking of doing your job and having a camera, I asked you yesterday in a quick pre-show chat if you were familiar with Nasty Manazer. We've had him on a couple, and you had a good Nasty story. Will you share that with us?
Well, it's his story. He told.
Well, yeah.
He
Fair enough.
And I can't remember where I saw it, or if I just can't remember what podcast it was on. But anyway, we were up tanking on a 130 because everybody needed to be 130 qualled. And
135?
so 135, sorry.
Okay.
And with the real hard hose that didn't retract and the hard vessel.
They wouldn't let Harriers tank on them because they kept ripping our probes off.
Yeah. I did that to some Navy airplanes too. And a lot of skippers would take the probe door off because that kept getting caught on the basket, and then it would get ripped off and go down the intake, fought an engine. Big emergency. So everybody's up there, trying to get the probe in the basket, which is very hard. It's not like on an A6 or even an A7, which is a little harder because of the wingtip vortices. But a Navy basket, when you were cool, you used to pull right up where you're supposed to be and then put the probe out. And then the probe would come out and stick right in the basket. And then you go, how about that, guys? I like that trick a lot. I used to do that. But on this one, I put the probe out and I said, all right, I'm going to stick it because everybody else was having so much trouble. It took a long time for them to get. I think you needed 6 plugs to get qualled. So you'd plug and then unplug and then plug again. And I didn't have pictures for the RAG. I was in the RAG as an OPSO at the time. And so I decided I would go up there and take photos so that we could brief the 135 because we really didn't have anything to brief anybody when they went out. And after everybody does their stabbing at it, they go up on the right wing of the KC-135, and Nasty's one of them who's over there, and I didn't even realize it at the time. And I go in and plug, and he's thinking, at least this is what he said, he's thinking, damn, he'd have got it on the first time. And then he says he looks down, and he sees my head bob, and I come up, and I got this big black Nikon in my hand, and I've got the hose laid in a C over my radome, just like you're supposed to do it. But in my right hand, I've got a camera, and I'm taking pictures of the whole thing. And then I put the camera away, and then I back out. And I was glad he told that story because obviously I've never told it before until I told you yesterday.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. Yeah, getting that. Whoa.
There's the C on the nose.
Yep.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah,
Boy,
picture of a 14.
What a good guy you have.
From the 135.
Yeah, Bago's a magician. You think something, and before it comes out of your mouth, boop, he's got pictures up. I don't know how he does it.
But most people don't even see the video, right?
Most don't. Yeah. We're heavily audio concentric. So if you want to see some of these photos, I'll put them on the blog post for this episode at sothereiwas.us/episode/190. And who knows, maybe 191 too. We're just having a ball. We're just getting cranked up here. It's good stuff.
Well,
oh man. So
you're gonna have to edit out half this stuff for time.
No, that's the beautiful thing about it is we are long form, and the best case, I'll split it into 2 shows. So we may crank it off right about here. In fact, this is a good place to do it. Come and join us next week for more with Heater.
Dare you.
All right, there we go.
Double.
Yeah, and now they're going to have to come back to the second show because, in fact, I'm going to put the timestamp break in right there. They're going to have to come back to the second show to close out anybody, CIA calling for anybody with gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I know how that ends. That's a great story.
Yeah, that is a great story. Well, sir, we have to thank you for your service, not only to our nation, but to obviously to naval aviation. That, like I said, there's not but anybody that's done more for naval. Probably not one individual who's done more for naval aviation than you have. The thousands of people who have joined the Navy and the Marines, inspired by your art. So, thank you for that, and thank you to all of our active duty veterans, first responders, and the families who carry the load at home that help them, support them in doing what they do. That's a big deal. As your bride of 53 years can tell you, there was probably a time or two when she was holding down the home front while you were out doing cool shots.
Absolutely. I mean, I had 7 cruises. That's like 6-7 months each, and 3 months of workups. So
that's over 4 years at sea right there. Just on,
absolutely. Gone.
Good
So
God.
she's holding down the fort, raising 2 kids. So big props to her.
So indeed.
And next time we'll talk about call signs and dogfighting.
We'll get there. In the extras for the Patreon supporters.
I just
There we
wanna-
go. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, that's a great
Join
idea.
us over on Patreon for call
Okay.
signs.
All right. I'll hang out if you want to do another 5 minutes.
Please, yeah.
Hey, we got a quick thank you to our advertising support from Dave Hamilton at backbeatmedia.com.
Dave gave us all the knowledge to do our show and helps us get the advertising. And thanks to all our donors. It's therewas.us/Patreon and therewas.us/donate. You folks rock. Your cash contributions help keep this show coming to you, keeping these amazing stories coming out over the airwaves. We know that you have lost all sense of financial responsibility, and we're grateful for that.
We're questioning your judgment, but we really appreciate you, and we're humbled. Thank you.
Indeed.
Let's see. So there I was.us/subscribe.
Yeah. Come subscribe to the show. If you like these shows, we got more. This is 190 and 191. We got more shows right here just for you. Go subscribe.
Hey, and give us a 5-star rating.
Right. So there it was.
if you-
.us/rate.
Yeah, if you can't give us 5 stars, tell us what we can do to make it 5 stars. We're trainable, for crying out loud.
If you have to give a 3-star rating, go find another show.
Yeah,
give it to them.
yeah.
Come back and tell us what we can do to make our show better. But give us 5 stars in the meantime. We'll get there.
Big thanks to Bago, who's been in the background for the last
Just
2
rocking
hours
it.
and 50 minutes, throwing everything up there right before somebody says it. Thank you, Bago, and Sticks, who's usually there also, and Badass, that's BDS Aviation Photography, for
Right.
sharing some of your photos.
Right.
He sent me
here's
one. He sent me a
here's another
personal
artist
today.
whom I think you have probably inspired, Heater. Not a pilot, but a hell of a photographer.
Yeah, he sent me a picture today and said, "What do you think of that?"
That's
Very,
it.
very similar to that one. Yes,
Marine
It
Corps
looks very-
250th birthday paint job on the last of the Harrier squadrons, VMA 223 Bulldogs.
Ironically, our old squadron. And then finally, that music in the
Noise
background there. Yeah, that's the 2 F-16 pilots that make the Air Force sound good. That's the Dos Gringos. Thank you.
Indeed.
The 2
Thank you,
Gringos.
Gringos,
Yeah.
for letting us use your music and for making it all sound good. I don't know, Fig, any advice for folks until next week?
Don't sit on the ejection seat handle.
Don't do it. Stay safe and check 6.
Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the shit I was wearing on that day. Now an F-16 is cramped enough, but it's even worse with all that stuff supposed supposed to save your life, but we knew there was no way. 'Cause when you're going down in the North Atlantic, man, it's over.
That was the wrong one. What does he normally say, Fig?
He said it's over. He said it's over.
Bugging out and going home. Jeez, I cracked myself up.
And we're out.